Winterberg in Germany to the BMW FIBT Women's Skeleton World Championships, part of a fortnight of action at this track in the Hochsauerland in the center of Germany, an hour or so from the Ruhr Valley. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Sitting alongside me is 2010 Olympic skeleton champion Amy Williams. Amy, going into the second run here. First run's down, everybody's feeling a little keyed up. What about heat two? Are they going to be more relaxed?
Hopefully now they're going to be more relaxed. They've got that first run done and, you know, all that tension in their body has left them. Let's hope. I'm expecting some better fast times and some better down times.
Third place, our junior world champion, Jacqueline Lerling. This is her home track. She starts almost half a second slower than the front runners, but she could be a medal contender.
Yes, I was really impressed with her. She's definitely one to watch. She needs to, she's got a good push, but she just needs to get that going a little bit better, and I think she is gonna, you know, be running for the money here.
And in the first heat, two girls separated by 100th of a second, the smallest measurable margin. We've got World Cup rookie Elizabeth Vache from Canada and our Olympic champion Lizzie Arnold. So it's the battle of the two Elizabeths.
It is. It's the two big heavy girls. Good solid starts. Expect a little bit more, but you know, 100th of a second. I remember I did my first junior world championships on this track and I won and lost by 100th of a second to a German. So this is what's going to happen. Who can put down a solid second run and, you know, get the first day done and dusted and be happy and confident going to day two?
So which Queen Elizabeth will be on top in the end of the first day? Big crowd on hand here at this Winterberg track. And after the first heat, there is the gap. 100th of a second, first to second. Jacqueline Lerling, little clear of teammate Tina Hermann in third place. But anybody in the top half dozen definitely could still be a medal contender. And outside, you can see just how close some of the battles are. From Janine Flock there in 11th, 200ths of a second covering three athletes, and we've got lots of close battles all the way down the entire field. So 29 women went to the start line this morning. 28 completed the run. Yelena Nikitina stood on her sled trying to load. It left without her, and she will take no further part in the proceedings. And Amy Williams, I mean, there's not a single slider, men or women, coaches, whatever, who doesn't sympathise with her.
Oh, we all feel for her, but that kind of just shows this is a hard thing that these girls are doing. They make it look easy because they are the best in the world. Just loading onto the sled is hard. Now, the athletes here are all just looking over their runners. Each runner has got a groove and a knife cut into it. It's a little bit like tyres on a car. That tread, you know, your Formula One drivers have different treads, and it's exactly like these runners. So they are now putting in settings onto their sled. There's basically a bow that they put into that runner. Depending on how much bow and the weight of the athlete once they're lying on it, whether you have 2 or 3 centimetres touching the ice or more. The more of that runner that touches the ice, the more you can play with, the more you can steer, but yet is a little bit slower. The less amount is maybe you're a bit more skiddy, but then you're going to be faster. Just getting those perfect settings exactly for you and per athlete.
And it's like a custom-made suit or a tailor-made shoe. It has to fit you perfectly. It doesn't matter what it does for anybody else, right?
And this is what takes time. And, you know, we have the athletes who, you know, this is their first races ever. They've got to learn about that. You've got to learn how the sled reacts to you on each different track and on each different temperature.
So here is our start draw. Now, what happens in the second heat is the fastest 20 women go in reverse order. So Michaela Widmer of Switzerland, she was in 20th place in the first heat. She'll go first. And Lizzie Arnold, the race leader, will go 20th. Now, in a normal World Cup race, that would be all of it. It would just be over 2 heats. But here it goes into a second day. So after the leaders have gone, the remaining sleds in the field, 21st, 2nd, and so on, down to the Polish girl, Marta Orlowska in 28th, they will all get their second run as well. Sled at the top of the ice to get us underway for the second of 4 heats in this Women's Skeleton World Championship. Martin Haven and Olympic champion Amy Williams watching the action as former Canadian and now Swiss slider Michaela Widmer, 20th in the first heat, takes her second ever World Championship run.
Yes, changing teams, changing coaches. There's a big relationship between athlete and coach. Whether you get on, you've got to work in sync, understand each other in the terminology that you use to slide on the tracks and how to use the steers.
I know they've had one trip down the track today. The ice is always different on race day from practice, so they've learned a little bit about what to expect.
Yes, they've all got that run one under their belt. They know what the track is like today, how it's reacting to them. They can be a little bit more relaxed now. We should be able to see that. I'm expecting faster push times from a lot of athletes because I just think the tension's released from their body a little bit. Those nerves from the morning have disappeared. And let's just see now how they all do. Do they all get quicker or slower or stay the same?
And the other thing is you can adjust the setup of the runners. You can't change them, but you can adjust the setup to suit the ice as opposed to what you thought the ice might be.
Yeah, so maybe if the ice is frosted up a little bit or the air temperature has changed, you might actually, within that parc fermé, when you're allowed to go on in, you can change those settings. So she's just come down 22 hundredths faster, so that's either her doing better and actually perfecting her steers, or it's the track and the conditions, or maybe she changed her settings on the sled. So
or
that's
a combination
faster.
of all three,
yes.
Exactly.
Oh, there's so many combinations. But if she's got down faster, does that mean we're going to get an even better track record as we get better to the better athletes? Look at her hands go onto the sled there. We can watch and see. I mean, this is such a technical aspect of the sport, is the load. You can see there, it's that right knee that hits on first. It's all about almost perfecting that load and onto the sled. Is it your chest first, your knees first? Very unique per athlete. We'll be able to watch here another type of push, and every athlete will push differently. And
from a different side of the sled, and from a different groove, and sometimes over the runner in the groove, and sometimes not. Jacqueline Narracott of Australia, 700ths of a second in front after the first of our 4 heats.
Yeah, so when we first started sliding, you know, 10, 12 years ago, everyone pushed with 2 hands. We would hold the sled with 2 hands, stand almost behind it, run next to it, and then jump on. Then people, and Jeff Payne in Canada, he started to push with 1 hand, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is quicker. We can use the other hand to still sprint, make it a little bit more like that sprint starting 100 metres, and the development has just happened. Some athletes prefer to slide on. Some athletes prefer to run on the left or the right. It's very unique, and that's what you would find out individually.
A couple of long skids here from Jacqueline Narracott. She was opening up a big margin over Michaela Widmer. It's come down from 24 hundredths, and it should be down in single digits here. 500ths of a second. It's going to be very close.
Yes, a good slide from her there. Very, very close.
58.48 in the first heat, 58.44 in the second. Her first round advantage overturned by Michaela Widmer. So the Swiss girl has picked up 1 more spot at least. And see Jacqueline there shaking her head. Maybe she just went the wrong way with her setup.
Well, yeah, we can see her there coming out of corner 9 with that very long exit. You can see she's very high there. Too high, so she needed to have changed that angle. You can see her leg coming up just because she's sort of over trying to balance. She then gets on quite early onto the corner 10, and it just means she has to work harder in 10. She's got the height and the pressure now at the end of corner 10 because she didn't quite manage to control the steer quick enough. Any athlete, you don't want to come down seeing your position number drop. You always want to, you know, come down at least to maintain your position, or if not, get down quicker.
Well, next up, Annie O'Shea of the USA, 11th fastest start. And she came down in 18th place, just 100th in front of Jacqueline Narracott of Australia. So another one of those very tight battles.
Yeah, good start by her there, 5:36. So almost a tenth quicker than her first run. So I'm really pleased that she's managed to do that, to come down quicker and, you know, to push harder, just relax more, be in 10th, 1 second. Get my models up here. Yeah, your 100ths, your 1 seconds. You know, all those split seconds at the top there, and the 100ths of a second made a huge difference.
Now she was 4 tenths up out of corner 5. She's only 3 tenths up going into the Kreisel, so she's lost speed compared to Michaela Widmer.
Yes, again, it could be her setup. I'm watching her here go through the corner. She's actually having having a very good run, very smooth, not making too many mistakes. It looks like she's having some good lines, but she has lost some time.
Yep.
126 speed, not the fastest.
No, 2 kilometres now down on the Swiss girl. So Michaela Widmer stays in the lead. She's already picked off 2 of the athletes that were in front of her. And we're in rich pickings for her because the 3 girls who finished in front of her, 17th, 18th, 19th, were separated by just 200ths of a second. So, you know, if she jumps once, she's going to jump them all.
Yes, I mean, when you're talking of hundredths of a second and you get down, you know, and you have a really good run, then it makes all the difference. So there was a little bit of a mistake there from Annie from 8 to 9, which, yeah, would have affected her speed towards the bottom. So she'll go away now and try and perfect that for tomorrow's racing.
Well, the next target then from our leader, Michaela Widmer, will be Joske Leconte of the Netherlands. She was 900ths in front of Michaela Widmer in the first heat. So each of these sleds, just the smallest margin. We've got 100th of a second separating them.
Go, 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 go!
Well, her start 5.50, Amy Williams. That's not a fast getaway, but she finds the speed further down the track.
Yes, I mean, 100th at the start there can amount to maybe 2 tenths at the bottom if you manage to keep your form and the perfect line. So that's why these athletes train so hard in the summer, just to get every 100th of a second.
2500ths in front, but it's below corner 5 that Michaela Widmer really seemed to find the speed. Let's see if Leconte can do the same. Opens up the margin. She's the first girl who has.
Yeah, let's see how her exit of Kreisel is here. Quite a lot of waves there, and again, she just had those oscillations in the wrong place in the corner there and wasn't able to flatten it.
Speed is too low. She's going to lose ground down to 1900s. It'll be in single digits at the next clock.
Still seeing her on red, so she's still managing to stay there. Let's see how she comes over the finish line.
She'll be in front, close to Michaela Widmer's speed. It's enough to keep her in the lead. 58.29. That's 1700ths faster than in her first heat. So we're seeing there is more speed in the track, and of course more relaxation and just letting it flow a little. The athletes may be less tense now.
Yes, I think it's a good combination of both. I think the ice has probably got a little bit quicker. They've done a lovely spritz on it as in the break, which just puts a fine layer of water on the top of the track. That fine layer of water, you know, just with the friction, you know, makes a big difference.
A little bit of a glassy polish. It's almost like getting a machine polish down it. So now then, Maria Mațelu of Romania, 16th place after the first heat. That's a really good opening slide from Maria. She's got a very quick start, and this is a track that she knows well. Now, Amy Williams, what's that good first run going to do for her confidence? Will it put on the pressure or remove it?
Well, I think for some athletes, a good first run, that's all you need, and you're relaxed and you're confident. You think, yeah, you know what, I can do this. I am as good as I think. And on other people, you know, especially if you're only 100ths of a second between a little gang of you, then the pressure is put on. You want to fight even more. And sometimes when you want to fight more, you actually, you know, are slower because you want it to start doing too much. They've just got to relax. She is coming here into corner 4. Really good line there, down the middle into corner 5. So perfect position.
Great speed at the start. She's the 6th or 7th fastest starter in the field, which is a big advantage. Not the greatest speed we've seen there. We've seen sleds a full kilometre an hour quicker.
Yep, she's getting a little bit scrappy down this bottom there. She just flipped into the corner there and very high at the exit of 9. So she actually had a very good top part of the track, but hasn't managed to create that down the bottom. And I think when the speed comes on and it hits you, you've got to remain calm and focused and to not suddenly panic and lose your position on the sled.
And she's dropped right down to the bottom of the top 20. That's a real shame because she had such a good first heat and it all just kind of drifted away from corner 5 on down. And Maria got a little skiddy. And again, maybe she just made a different change to her sled that has not helped her.
So here we are, exit of 10. You can see her sled dropping away there in the middle of the corner, which really she needs to have held it up with the steer because then it's too high at the exit there and you fall off. So there's the exit. Look how high she is. The sled's got nowhere to go but to fall off, and then she skids across and is a bit too early into the labyrinth. Once you're too early into the first labyrinth, I mean, they are so quick, 11, 12, 13. No time.
Joska LeConte leads the first 5 sleds down here, Heat 2 in Winterberg. Lena Prejelena of Latvia, 15th after the first heat, 100th in front, and 100th behind of her were her closest rivals in a very tight battle inside the top 15 in the World Championships. First heat advantage over current leader Joska LeConte of the Netherlands, just 0.08 of a second, and that's the blink of an eye.
Much better start time from her there. She did 5:38, so she'll be really pleased with that. So let's see if she can continue a really good lace still in this top flat part of the track.
It's growing over LeConte. 800s in the first heat. She's now 2700s up. But she is one of the most petite athletes, and that is going to see that it makes it more difficult to build speed down the track.
Yes, in terms of weight, but in terms of form, look how tiny and petite she is, tucked into that sled. Her elbows and arms are tucked in, her feet together. She's very compact onto that sled, which in that sense is a good advantage in terms of aerodynamics, but you're right in terms of weight. But she's having a really good run here. I'm really impressed with the smoothness of her lines, no crazy mistakes or anything going on.
Keeps the speed to the line, 58.19 slide for her, and that's 1900s better than her first heat. So the nerves are starting to vanish, the track is holding the speed and producing maybe a little more. Air temperature seems to be coming up just a degree or so. Cold, frosty night overnight, so maybe the track's just speeding up.
Yeah, and we saw the workers actually in the break. I was watching them mend that start. You can see the groove and the runner, where the runner sits into that groove. After, maybe 20 meters, that disappears and you're suddenly left with the flat ice. But I was seeing them watching away. It gets broken up. The more athletes that go down, you can see it chipping away, little bits of ice. They go around and sweeping those bits up. Sometimes, it gets in the way. That's an exit of corner 3 there. Really good, straight line. Bang into the middle of corner 4, exactly where she wanted to be.
Well, one of the big surprises in the first heat, 14th place for Kim Meilmans, who has never raced at the top flight before. This is her first race on TV, and this is her favourite track. She has trained with the Germans for several years, and a great first run. And Amy, at 18 years old, I can't imagine what her nerves must have been like this morning.
Yeah, I started doing skeleton when I was 18, actually, and we used to, travel around with our equipment in basic form and just learning on ice tracks. That's the way we managed to get runs under our belt. Just enter a competition, learn. You get your 6 runs to be able to practice and see what you're doing. And that's what it's all about here, is actually getting that experience in racing and learning what you have to do. So she just had a bit of a clip there going into corner 9, which meant that then she was early into corner 10.
Well, she was 6th at the start, and she's lost ground all the way down. Gap out to half a second behind Lelja Prejelena.
Yeah, she just hasn't quite controlled the pressures and the oscillations in the corners. But you know what? She is only 18, and she's got to learn. When she goes and watches videos and sees those pressures, she'll start to realise where they are in the corners. Once you study the videos, these athletes, for a few hours a night, will be watching their video footage, watching other athletes. You can see the rise and fall of the oscillations. That was corner 8-9. You could just see her bumper and her shoulder hitting and clipping just into corner 9, which would have pushed her late. And that's going into corner 14. They're using her feet, and you can just see, that whole corner goes uphill. So it's so important to get a clean entrance to keep that speed, because you're going up here and you're going to be slowing down quicker.
10th of our starters was Russia's Maria Orlova, 4th fastest getaway, 5:33 in the first heat. She could not keep the speed on board her Willi Schneider sled. Now, she's an experienced athlete, won her first ever World Cup race in Altenburg, Germany, right after Christmas. See what she can produce here. Having to take a steer to sort out corner 0.
Yeah, I thought she was just going to go on a bit too early then, but she managed to control it well with her foot.
Degree in sports psychology she has, so hopefully the nerves won't be playing too much for her. But what is corner 0 the hardest part of this track? It looks like it should be the least offensive.
Well, they actually built more of a corner over the last few years. It used to be like a little tiny kink in the straight, and it caused the biggest problems for nearly every athlete. Once you got that corner 0 perfected, that speed that you'd got from the start, you could then continue on. I've seen many athletes race ruined by that little hero.
Oliver losing speed as she did in the first heat. 2300s up on Lelda Predjelena at the start. Came down to 1300s now. She's got a little more speed than the Latvian girl. And again, her mass helping her there to ease away at the line. Well, it's not going to suddenly vault her into the top 6 because that's 100 slower than her first run, where she really needed a 3 or 4 tenths improvement.
Yes, but it's 100th quicker than Kim, who just went before her. So, you know, you're kind of give and take hundredths of a second here.
Yeah. So Maria Oliver of Russia is our leader. First 8 sleds down in this field of 28 women.
Yeah, we've got Laura Dees coming up next.
Well, she using the right-hand groove as the athletes look at it, which is unusual. Most seem to be using the left-hand groove. Another big smile from Maria Oliver. Now, starting identically to her is Laura Dees. She was the first girl off the hill. And again, she came down in 12th place, just 100th faster than Oliver.
Yes, let's see what her push time. She had actual identical push times to Oliver before. So let's see if Laura can push quicker. I'm expecting that she will do.
400s out of the top 10 in the first heat. First round advantage over the current leader, 100th of a second. 5:31, there you go. And Oliver went slower, Laura's gone quicker.
So let's see if she can now hold it together. And it's very nervous when you're first one down the track at the start of a race. So, I mean, Laura coped really well with that. This is her first major championship. So she's still a newbie in the sense of, you know, big competitions and world championships.
Good speed, better than on her first trip. Little high there. Her speed now is only as good as she had in the first heat, but off a better start.
Yes, we'd like to see her get in quicker. Everyone there is struggling into corner 9. I've just watched a few athletes now. We've seen her slip into corner 9, but so far she's holding it together.
Kilometre now slower than Michaela Whitmer, the first girl down the ice. 1:27, Michaela Whitmer had 1:28.
Oh, and you can see even up to the end of corner 14, there's still chance to actually tip over onto your sled.
Well, we've seen bobsleigh races won by rolling out of the final corner. If you can avoid landing until after the finish beam, then taking off out of the final corner, it's not necessarily such a bad thing in terms of speed. Pretty uncomfortable when you're landing, mind you.
Yeah, you can get your bumps and bruises from there. You can see there she's very high coming out of the exit there, but she controlled it well to go into the next corner. And if you know what's coming and you know the feeling, you're able to steer it and do it right. That's going straight into Kreisel there. I would say, personally, a tiny bit too early, but you could see she was trying to fight with her feet there. But I think she's going to be really happy with that. You can see her face there. She's off to weigh her sled again.
Nice big smile from her, 2 tenths quicker than her first run. Now here's our World Cup champion, won the Crystal Globe, is the overall highest point scorer in the season. Janine Flott in the last 2 years has really come of age, become a regular front runner, and to see her down in 11th is a big surprise.
Yes, I was expecting her to be actually a little bit further up there. She pushed a little bit quicker there. I mean, her first push on her first run, I was actually quite disappointed with. I thought she was going to do better than that. But she's a solid, good slider, and she's really, like I say, she's coming to her own now. The confidence has grown with her. Now she's just got to hold it together for these championships.
And of course, next year the World Championships go to her home track, Eagles in Austria. A little skid out of 6 into 7, the Kreisel turn.
She's a very long, lean athlete here. She's not holding quite the same amount of weight. Kind of quite like me, actually. A very similar body shape to what I was like. Just perfect form on the sled, flat. Very good aerodynamically. And she is having some solid, good lines here. She's managed to pick up a bit of time.
Getting very close to the race leader, Laura Dees, 500ths of a second behind with a 58.02 slide. She was 100th in front in the first run, so she drops just behind Laura into second place with the fastest 10 sleds in the heat still to come, as well as the rest of the field. And to say that you're not in the top 20 after the first heat, those that girls were just outside, doesn't mean they won't be here.
So that's her going into Kreisel there. You could see her using her feet. She's fighting on the sled, and that's quite obvious there with her having to use the feet a lot to be able to do the steers. I mean, Laura Dees has always loved this track. We do a lot of training on this track. Quite a lot of our selection races now have been on this track. So Laura has finally come into, you always want to race on a track that you love.
Laura Dees leads. Fastest 10 sleds still to come here in this second of 4 heats in the Women's Skeleton World Championships. We had a tie for 9th place in the first heat here in Winterberg, Germany. Canada's emergency room doctor Lynette Prediger and 2008 world champion Anja Huber-Selbach. Lynette goes first. All 3 Canadian girls are World Cup rookies. They were all in the top 10 in their first ever World Championships.
Yeah, that shows you the strength of the development team within Canada. And obviously after Vancouver, you would have had another wave and swarm of athletes keen and interested in the sport. And these are 3 Canadian girls who you can tell have had a lot of time and energy and knowledge, pumped into them.
A self-funded program pretty much at the moment, but you're right, they trained with the best and using the best conditions in Calgary. That's starting to show. Now, Lynette was 24th out of 28 starters in the first heat, but she produces speed down the bottom, but that late scorpion kick exit is going to just hinder her a little.
Yes, everyone's, well, look at her speed there, 129.7. She is flying down this track. She's got great speed and is coming down in first place.
58.12 in the first heat, 57.93 in the second. So 2 tenths quicker on that run. And she's behind, and then suddenly the last corner, woof, she's got that acceleration out of the labyrinth.
Yeah, she's found the speed at the top of the track, and let's watch her here in the Kreisel, see how she exits. High there, but I think if we see her now as she exits, she had a good exit coming out. Really smooth, there you are. Little bit high, but for her, that obviously worked. She was ready for it, planned, and she got the entrance that she wanted to go into corner 10 to carry the speed all the way through the labyrinth.
Well, Lynette Prediger is the leader, the 35-year-old from Canada. She was tied to the 100th of a second with Anja Huber-Selbach, 31-year-old German from Bischofswiesen, 2008 world champion in women's skeleton, and in 2010 she was on the podium with Amy Williams, who sits alongside me in the bronze medal position. In fact, she will finish her career here tomorrow in the last race of her life.
Yes, Anya's just struggled these last 2 years with back problems, not being able to train the same. Her sprint and her push isn't as good as you would have expected from her a few years ago. 5:46 push.
That's right where she was in the first heat, but it gives her a 2 tenths advantage over Lynette Prediger as she lies down. Now the question is, how long will that advantage last? She's still building on that start momentum, so the gap opens up to turn 4.
Yes, we'd expect Anja here with her knowledge of the German tracks to be doing well.
But
so
now,
she's up a tenth.
Gap is down to a tenth from 2400s. This is where Lynette's extra mass and momentum start to swing the balance, and Anja Huber just can't live with that.
Looks like she's fallen a few places here. I mean, Anya's one thing is that her elbows always stick out a little bit. It's always the one thing that I notice with her, and you can just see when you've got perfect form and your elbows are right down by the side of you, that helps with the aerodynamics. So she is not going to be happy with that. You can see her head shaking. For me, I'm thinking, what would I be feeling if I was Anja? I know this is her last race. I was trying to think back. I did my very last race in the World Championships in Lake Placid, and I knew while I was racing, this is the last time I'm going to race. You've got a lot of emotions going on that you're fighting with, trying to put them into a little box that you're not thinking about it when you're racing. But how do you know? She might be thinking about that when you're going down, and you just got no room for anything else going in your head. So there you are, very high and skidding out of that corner, clipping very early into the next.
Well, a quarter of a second slower on her second run. She will want to think about that a lot overnight. Her teammate, Sophia Griebel, so far, the opposite really of Anja. She started a little quicker, came down a little quicker, but only 800s in front of Lynette Prediger, so she needs to find pace down this track as well. She starts 2 tenths of a second quicker than Lynette Prediger.
Yes, let's watch and see how she comes through these first very flat corners, finding the speed.
We talk about flat, but corner 2 goes uphill up to the apex and comes back down. 4, there's a rise up to 4.
You can just see it dropping out of 4 into 5, and that's where the speed and the track starts to drop. Going around Kreisel there, see how still she is on the set. She's perfect position.
Half a kilometre an hour slower than Lynette Prediger. The gap was out to 3,800. It's down to 17. She could be in the red by the line.
Yeah, beautiful line out of corner 9 there. You can see she's nailed the bottom of this track. The lines are clean, beautiful.
2Ks down in speed. Lynette had 1:29.7. She is behind. It's that speed below the Kreisel that is allowing Lynette Prediger to climb the greasy pole towards not just the top 10, but maybe into the top 6. Sophia Griebel stumbles. 58.05 though, that's the old track record as of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got to remember that all these girls are breaking the track record, even though we're, you know, saying they're not doing that great. I mean, the track record's been smashed. That goes to show you how well this ice is. Look at her head bobbling around there on the exit of curve 10.
Steering
Lots of
to
pressures.
get the height.
Yeah, she's got the height there. I mean, she's still got perfect form, and she's trying to keep that going down into the labyrinth.
So Lynette Prediger of Canada, the rookie, is our leader. Next up, 7th place, Rose McGrandle. Now, a bit disappointed perhaps, only started 9th fastest in the first heat, but she was a little nervous this morning when we spoke to Amy Williams. I'm sure she'll be feeling a little more relaxed now to be on the fringes of the top 6.
Yes, having a good first run would have given her the confidence she needs. She's got Taipei, who's out here, who's one of the British coaches that coached with her the last few years. And she's moved to a different coach, Eric Bonotas, who is now ex-American slider, who's now coaching the British team. And it's very hard when you're moving coaches to get the right terminology. Whereas so far, she's up there with the green, so she's actually getting down very well indeed.
The man who started her off, the man who started you off, Mark Wood, and a new brace of British athletes are watching from Lillehammer, so the conveyor belt of talent continues to produce these great sliders.
This is the best one we've seen so far for Rose. A lot cleaner, very good line. She's not really had to steer too much. That's obvious for me to be looking at. Let's see
Top
what
speed at the bottom, 1:29. She's 1:28.3. That's good enough. She will take the lead away from Lynette Prediger, but by 800ths of a second. That's how close this race is going to be. You don't get huge gaps at the front end of the field in skeleton.
No,
Wow. She was 4/10ths up into corner 5, 800ths in front at the bottom of the track.
Yes, I mean, this group now that we're getting into, we are talking hundredths. That's going to separate them. No more are we in the tenths. You know, these are hundredths of a second. You can see her there loading onto the sled, trying to get as flat as possible.
She's already dealt with that. Her eyes are already focused on corner 0.
Yeah, you're already always looking that one corner ahead, always thinking one corner ahead. How have I exited that corner? What am I going to go and do in the next one? If I've not done it perfect how I had, what's my plan B? What's my plan C?
Top 6 from the first heat now. Former British coach Mickey Grunberger holding the sled for Marina Giordoni. Marina with the single fastest start in the competition so far. 5:22 is the outstanding track record set by Canada's Jane Channel. Is she close? 5:24. She's got closer off of 5:26 in the first heat. Well, she has speed, power at the start, and great body mass on the sled. She's a little bit, I guess, like Alexander Tretiakov, the Russian rocket. He came out when he first arrived 10 years ago with so much speed he couldn't handle it. And Marina's the same. She's learning to use the speed.
Yeah, she's yet to get a World Cup medal, I believe. I don't think she's quite got one yet, but she's slowly creeping on up there. And you can just see here, she's just making tiny little mistakes. Like you say, when you're so fast at the start, you need to be able to still control it and still know what you're doing. You can't solely focus just on your push. There is still 14 corners to slide down.
Gap coming down. This is going to put Laura Dees, Rose McGrandle into the top half dozen. It is. She drops to 3rd or 2nd equal time with Lynette Prediger. Well, it slipped away. She was 2,600ths up after corner 5 and just drifted away down the track.
Yes, Rose is happy there. It'll be great to see her finish on a really good race at the end of the season. She had her first podium finish in Eagles World Cup a few weeks ago.
Well, start was good, and this is one of the big advantages of coming from a power sport like bobsleigh. But Laura carrying more speed.
Yeah, you can see that. I mean, sometimes, yes, speed's important. We've been mentioning them, but sometimes the best athlete who's had the quickest start or at the end doesn't always have the best speed. You can see her there. Wow, big hit. Completely the wrong angle coming out 14 is actually really quite hit. I think she's going to find a bruise there.
And that will have cost her the lead. Next up is Jane Channell of Canada, 5th place in the first heat, and still one more Canadian slider to go in this top 5. And Jane Channell, start record holder, 5:22. She started 5:27 in the first heat.
Wow, look how fast she runs and how fast she got on her sled. You know, none of this crazy floating in the air business with your legs up. She was straight on as flat as possible, which is so important.
It's almost like a racing swimmer's dive. You've got to be so parallel to the sled to carry that power, not just thump down on it. Half a second up now over Rose McGrandle, the current leader.
Yes, beautiful clean line so far. She's coming out with perfect exits. Bit of a toe tap there to not get early. It's a really good line there.
Fastest speed we've seen.
Let's see how well she carries that speed through to this bottom of the track.
96.7, that's the quickest we've seen as well. This is a very good run.
Yeah, beautiful corner, the exit of 9 there. No extra little lip. Really good corners here.
World Cup rookie, first ever World Championship appearance from Jane Channell. She's going to end the day no worse than 5th position. Wow, she's going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah, the Canadians, hey, are coming fighting on this track. They are making a big statement. They are strong, they are fast. They're saying to the world, look out for us, guys.
She was only 100th of a second off 4th. She was 1100ths out of the medals. They're contenders, aren't they? And all of that own the podium experience that Canada brought to bear into the Winter Games in 2010 is still bearing fruit.
They are the rookies coming on in. I mean, that's her going into Kreisel. We can see her tapping her toe, but she had a much better entrance because she's slightly more onto the left, so she's not clipping early. Really great start, great finish by her. You know, these are the rookies of the Canadian team. They've got nothing necessarily to prove in the sense that they haven't had the results already.
Fastest 4 to go. Tina Hermann of Germany started only 20th, came down just a 10th out of the medals. And Tina Hermann, mentored by Marion Tisson, this track particularly finds speed that she never leaves the starting line with.
She's a very good example of, you know, a big, strong, heavy girl, but she can't quite push quick enough. If she could push, you know, a 10th quicker, you imagine what she would be like. But she's got the knowledge and the inside information from Marion Tees, who was always winning on this track.
The gap is now out to 4800ths behind leader Jane Channell. Don't forget she was 100th faster than her in the first heat. And this is where she turns it around. 92 kilometers now, fastest speed we've seen. 97.4, that's the fastest speed we've seen.
Yes.
Here she comes.
Incredible run here, absolutely textbook perfect. 130.1 kilometers per hour.
Sensational speed, but it's not enough. Jane Channell laid down a great run. She leads with the fastest 3 still to come. And this could leave the Canadian rookie in the top 3 overnight. But still in contention, Tina Hermann of Germany. She'll go away and use all the knowledge that she and the coaches can bring to bear to improve for tomorrow's final runs.
Yes, it's very different when you've still got another whole day of racing ahead of you. It's not over today, there is another whole day. So all those tiny little mistakes they can make up on, that's her. You can see how relaxed she is. You can see the muscles in her glutes, you know, wobbling around, which just shows the relaxation of the athlete on the sled.
Local fan club and family, I'm sure, making lots of noise for Jacqueline Lurling, our junior world champion on her home track, her first ever major league appearance. She was 22nd out of 28 starters in the first heat. Almost leisurely in her getaway, but those long levers take a lot of turning over.
Yeah, I mean, she's a big girl, a big athlete, and yeah, her sprint start is not her strong point, but her strong point is the way she drives the sled. If she can go away over the next few summers and really concentrate on that push, on the strength work in the gym, then you never know what this girl could turn into.
Well, she's half a second back. We saw Tina Herman with a similar margin, not quite close the gap on Jane Channel, and the gap has not come down enough. 92.4 is the fastest speed we've seen. What does she know about the bottom of the track? 98 kilometers an hour, that's insane speed.
Yes, I mean, she is pulling it back. I mean, she is definitely finding the secret speed coming out of the corner, using what the corner gives to you. Is she going to do it?
Not quite as quick in the bottom corners in her first run. She ties for the lead. Jane Channel is in the top three. Jens Muller on the right. A little smile from the coach. We've got a tie for the lead with the fastest two athletes to go. Jacqueline Lerling, the junior world champion, is bursting into your living rooms with a huge smile.
Yes, let's talk about this here, right there. That's the exit of corner 10. Her speed's there, 130.2. Incredible, considering she started off so slow. I mean, that's the size, the weight of her. You know, that's a huge advantage. She's so tall, much bigger than all the other athletes. And,
5'10".
you know, if she could only push a little bit quicker, but look at her, that's Winterberg for you. It's a perfect track to be able to, you know, find speed at the bottom.
So our top two in the first of 4 heats here in Winterberg in this Women's Skeleton World Championship, separated by 100th of a second. Race-winning rookie Elizabeth Varche from Canada, the first to go. She has the quicker start. 5:31 in the first heat. She needs more. 5:34 is a little slower.
Just a slower, yep, her first push on the first heat was third fastest. We're a little bit slower there, but look at her. Look how perfect her feet together. I don't think we're going to see those feet move much. Really great form, good lines there coming out into corner 4.
And same speed into the first track that she had despite a slower start. So she's got momentum, 92.5, exactly the same speed as in the first heat.
Yes, and obviously she came down quickly, very high there. Yeah, so we're going to see that in a replay a little bit better to see what happens. I was quite surprised that that happened then.
96.5, that's a kilometre now down on where she was. The gap over Jane Channel and Jacqueline Lerling was 3100ths. It's still a quarter second. 127.8, that's a kilometre now down. That one big skid has cost her speed, and that allows Lizzie Arnold a chink of light. She still leads with only one faster athlete from Heat 1 to go. Look at the hand, she's happy with that. She's feeling the fluence.
She's come down in first, but that wasn't the best slide from her. I want to try and see the replay and see what happened. So that's her going into Kreisel. Quite high in that first oscillation, dropping quite low. Very high on the end there, and I think she got a bit too much height at the end of Kreisel. So basically her oscillations were all wrong. She was too high, too low, and had too much pressure at the end. Clipped very early into corner 8 there. So, I mean, if she hadn't done that, I would have expected her to have been, you know, a few hundredths quicker.
Mum Rita, Dad Greg are both here watching. Now, Olympic champion Elizabeth Yarnold, the girl who took over from my co-commentator Amy Williams as the best skeleton athlete in the world, leads by 100th of a second after the first heat. She doesn't have a big start. 11th in the first heat, that'll be 11th fastest again, but she knows how to find speed down the track.
Yes, I was expecting Lizzie actually to be a little bit quicker. I don't know whether, you know, everything's fine or whether it's just the end of season tiredness in her legs. But let's see what she can do. Is she going to have a nice, beautiful, clean run? It's a consistent person who stays on top.
Well, she has this ability to look like she's doing nothing on the sled, and that means she's doing everything perfectly and not having to panic.
Yes, let's see what her exit of Kreisel is like. Much better. I mean, that's a perfect exit there, which gives a smooth entrance into corner 9.
She's still in the red. The gap's come down from 1800s to 1600s, and now she's going to catch up where that mistake came from Elizabeth Varche. Her speed's a kilometre an hour better. The gap's down to 100th.
Yeah, I'm going to see that red turn to green? Yes, halfway through, corner 14.
Yes.
She is in the lead.
And so she's opened up the margin from 100 to 7 hundredths of a second. However, that is still one tiny error away. So we've got a real race on our hands overnight.
Yes, we have, haven't we? What a great day of racing on that first day. It proves that people can shift and change places just by a few hundredths of a second.
We saw the Arnie Army down there at the bottom. Mum Judith is here with the rest of the family. Dad Clive and...
Thank you. You're watching people's dreams come true.
Certainly are.
Always a message for home. I'm actually going to go down to the bottom now and join Matthew Pinson and try and have a little chat with Lizzie, see how she feels after day one.
Well, that's the first of our
Kissing
heats
mum and
down
dad
for the
there.
top 20. Yeah, we've still got the remaining sliders in the field to go. We'll have a little pause to hear from our top 3. But, you know, how do you respond to pressure? That's the key of being a great athlete in any discipline, isn't it? When the pressure's on, you've got to somehow find a little bit extra.
Yes, you do, and I mean, that's what it's all about, and doing the sports psychology, working things out in your head, not getting ahead of the game, you know, staying calm, keeping to your game plan, keeping to everything that you've ever done in any other race. Just because it's World Championships, you're not going to treat the race any differently than any other race. And I mean, World Championships is very unique. It's racing over 2 days. You know, you've got to have the energy to be able to do that and to prepare twice.
So, after one of our 2 days, 7 hundredths of a second cover the top 2. We have a tie for 3rd place and, again, a closely chasing battle with some risers, some fallers. Rose McGrandle gets herself into the top half dozen. Lynette Prediger had a good run as well, up the order into joint 7th place. So 2 ties in the top 10. Those will need to be separated in the next 2 runs. And in the rest of the top 20 athletes as well, Michaela Widmer of Switzerland moved up 5 spots from 20th into 16th place at the moment. And just outside the top 20, more hungry women looking to try and break into that lead group. They will all get their second run in a few minutes after we've heard from our top 3 athletes. The track conditions have been fast all fortnight here in Winterberg, and it's been a real winter wonderland. Some days it's snowed, some days it's been sunny. We haven't had anything so far that has given this track its habitual nickname of Rainyberg.
They've been very, very lucky. I've raced here, and for one athlete it could be raining, the next athlete you go out and it's snowing, and then you wait 10 minutes and the sun shines out. Yeah. It's very unpredictable, so they've been very, very lucky that it stayed very consistent.
And a fantastic race in prospect for tomorrow. Don't forget, the men's competition will continue to its conclusion as well, but the women's skeleton contest separated the top 2 by just 7 hundredths of a second. Well, let's hear from the top 3 or 4, I suppose, since we have a tie for the bronze medal position at the moment. John Morgan is down there in the finish area.
Okay, the tie here for bronze medal going into the last 2 runs. Jacqueline, boy, did you fly on the bottom part of the track in the second run. Did you feel comfortable in your run?
Yes, on the top it was a bit skiddy, but I'm happy with the result, and I think I did 2 good runs.
You certainly did, Jane. Wow, great starts, and you had to be happy with your second run.
I definitely am. Thank you, yes.
Good night's sleep thinking about it. Okay, and now over to the first of Elizabeth's, Liz. So, do you feel comfortable both runs?
My second run was all over the place, so happy with the time, not happy with how I drove.
Good luck tonight. Thinking about it. Liz, boy, on the second part of the second run, you were 1,800ths down at Kreisel, but on the bottom, you look perfect.
Wow, I have no idea. I haven't looked at the numbers yet. Sometimes you can feel it's a fast run, sometimes not. But we're only halfway through the competition. We've got 2 more runs tomorrow morning, and I think it's going to be even more exciting. You know, there's only 7 hundredths between the 2 of us, so it's going to be a great race.
Ladies, so far you put on a great show. See you tomorrow.
So it is definitely going to be a great race between our top 4 girls, 4 in podium positions. A little bit of cool runnings going on the big screen in the background to keep the fans occupied until the remainder of our remaining 8 athletes get underway in just a couple of minutes' time. Well, Amy Williams, you know, the deal with a normal World Cup race, you've got 2 heats, 1 day, bang, gone, whatever it is, it's not going to cause you too much lost sleep. Now, though, you've got to go back and prepare yourself again to go and do the whole thing again, and overcome an advantage, hold an advantage. There's a different mind game.
Very, very different. I mean, the fight's only just started, really. They now kind of got a little taster of what's happening, who's doing where, how well everyone is. They've now got to go away, prepare their sleds all over again, all the sled work that goes on, polishing the runners, getting out any little scratches, doing everything mentally, you know, the second time round, and then to come out and do the fight for the next day. And, you know, some athletes find that really hard. They're exhausted after one day of racing, let alone having to do it all over again. It's a different format, but an Olympic Games is exactly the same. So it's very, very good practice. If you can race well over 2 days with these 4 runs, and that, you know, is a really good positive for if you were ever to compete at an Olympic Games.
So how do you deal with it overnight?
You know what, I actually always did my best when it came to these kind of races. I loved the fact that you had double the chance to actually do well, and I was always a very consistent slider. I could pretty much pop down 4 runs that were almost identical in times, and that's what it's about. It's, you know, having 4 very good, solid runs and hoping that at least one of them is that little bit better than everyone else.
So, with the fastest 20 down, next up is Yulia Kanakina of Russia. 19 years old, second youngest athlete in the field. She's only been sliding for 2 years after they prized her away from the ballet bar. So, a very different sporting background for her. 5:37 though, with that speed at the start. Olympic champion Amy Williams, you can see why they've got her in the programme.
Yes, you can. I mean, we're always trying to find different skills from different areas. I mean, the Australians, you know, 10 years ago went surf lifesaving, got ex-surfers to come and have a go at skeleton because they're, you know, very used to the pressures and the waves. And it's the same kind of things. And to have a ballerina who, you know, is very aware of what her body is doing, that's so important. When you're lying on that sled, you can't see anything, your head's squashed with 5 Gs of pressure. You've got to know where and what your body is doing.
She was a quarter of a second outside of the top 20 in the first heat. Speed is not bad. She's losing a little bit more ground. She's in the 20 at the moment. In fact, she's just dropped out behind Kim Marmans of Belgium, who was in 20th spot.
I mean, that was a very good, solid run. You know, like you say, she's only been doing this sport. She's very new to it. So all those tiny little things, the adjustments on the sled, you know, getting her pushed quicker, getting the tension in her body right is all going to come with experience. But that actually was a really lovely, good run. Nothing major that stands out.
We saw a big smile from Coach Billy Schneider, one of his development athletes, and I think he's pretty happy with her progress this year. Promoted her to the World Cup at the beginning of the season. She's got that kind of using the... I always think that the legs akimbo thing means they're using the knees a little more than the knives just for stability.
Yeah, so I mean, we slide and we steer on the sled by using our shoulders, our knees and our feet and our head. Some athletes choose never to use knees. I never bothered with my knees. I like to keep my legs and feet very, very still and only use shoulders, and it's each to their own. You generally steer opposite arm to opposite knee, but you just got to figure out the way that works best for you.
Great start from young Megan Henry, this US slider, qualified for the World Championships in a race-off against her teammates. She's not started a senior-level World Cup race before. She's from Roxbury, Connecticut, and she had a couple of little errors. She was very high there in the first run, and has that rub up the wall in 3.
Yeah, she didn't quite get that exit of 3, right, which is exactly what she did on that first run. So still a bit of a learning curve in those very flat corners. A little bit high there at the exit. She's just a bit scruffy now, so she's just not been able to sort of keep that concentration, the steers, the pressures.
She's still got speed on board, though. She's moved up from what she was in the first heat, 22nd. She's in 18th place, 16th place on the split times. Maybe this is the Kristen Bromley way of riding a wild bucking bronco. 11th fastest run in the heat at 58.07. That's a great relaxation of the tension from the first run. She's moved up to 17th. That's 6 spots she's picked up.
Huge improvement, and most of that will be coming from that corner 3 to 4. That on her first run, we saw her incredibly high. So she got that a little bit better, made that mistake there, clipping in. But from her first run, she's made some, you know, corrections on mistakes, and I think is only going to get better and better.
Well, there's that phrase, let it fly, and boy, Megan Henry let it fly. 6 spots up the order now. What can Maria Montejano do? Brother Ramon holding the sled for her. Spain's Anna Mirambel will continue in the men's World Championships as well. One athlete from male and female skeleton in the Spanish team in this Worlds. 19th fastest start. A little bit of a scrappy first round. I'm sure she was feeling a little nervy.
Massive fans at the top there, and even just having those people watching, shouting, cheering, that's not a normal thing to have in the World Cup. Not many people come out and watch these girls race. And even that distraction of having people shouting, you know, with flags around and yelling as you go through the corners, that can really put you off. And if you're not used to that, and you're trying to concentrate doing your steers, it can be very unnerving.
You can't go down going, shush!
No, you can't.
Much as you would like to.
You just have to stay concentrating, stick with the game plan, and you know, if you're really concentrating on what you're doing, forget what's happening on the outside world. You're in your own little bubble there when you're on that track, and the track is yours for that, you know, 1 second.
And this is the secret, isn't it? You've got to remember that it is just you and the ice. Nobody else can ruin your race for you. It's just about you and your sled. Montiano in 23rd spot after the first heat. And she will stay in that position here, doesn't pick up anymore. 58.71, that's 0.3 of a second better than her first run. So she closes on the girls in front a little. That might help distance herself from those behind.
So she's obviously got a heavy sled there. Always want to have someone to help you pick it up on the end there. I mean, even carrying these sleds around on the season, they're slightly back-breaking. You can see there the handles and the saddle that she's holding on to that is curved to her body. So we would curve those to the shape of your body so they are as personalised as you can make them. So you're fit, nice and snug. Keep a good position and form with those saddle the handles around you.
Big smile as ever from Maria Montiano. Now is Takako Umakai from Japan. 24th place out of 28 sliders in the first heat and 0.3 back on the Spanish girl in front of her.
Zooming in there, you can see the brush spikes. These are specially designed spikes for skeleton and bobsleigh athletes to use. So there's a good 100-odd little tiny spikes there that means that it's not going to chew up the ice as much when they're sprinting.
Originally, they used to do bobsledding in studded rugby boots. Then track spikes made an appearance. They made an awful mess of the ice, so these tiny needle spikes, standard running shoe that everybody uses now.
See her exit of 4 there. Really good line, good, slightly towards the right, middle right into the next corner. Really smooth, clean lines here as she goes into the horizon.
She now lives in Nagano, the Japanese track there that held the 98 Winter Games. Head up, she wasn't quite sure of her line there, really having a good look at the corner coming up and just lost her rhythm a little bit on this high-speed pass of the track.
When you have that feeling that you don't think you're in the right place at the right time, your head comes up, that's quite, you know, a juvenile mistake to make, and, you know, she's just a learner, and that's what happens. As soon as you lift that head to see where you're going, that's enough to actually cause the sled to slip, to skid, go into the wrong angle. But she will learn about that the more and more she slides.
First year on the World Cup, so first season in the senior level. And again, most of her junior experience came in North American tracks. The Japanese, like the Koreans, start off on North American tracks.
There's her in the exit of 10, just bobbling away there. I mean, when the bobsleigh athletes go down, and they were training yesterday, the ice actually gets a lot of lumps and bumps, little bits breaking off, and although it looks smooth, when you go into that slow motion, you can actually see the vibrations and how bumpy it is for these athletes.
From the Virgin Islands, Katie Tannenbaum lies in 25th place. She's just 600ths of a second in front of the sled right behind her. 29-year-old from St. Thomas. 5.73 getaway. She was 24th out of the starters in the first heat. She's going to be in that sort of tail of the field starting margin again.
Yes, so far, I mean, we can see she's very relaxed, in very good form, and the first thing you learn when you learn how to do skeleton is just to have that good basic form. That's the most important thing. If you're all over the place and can't control the sled, then you can't really steer it underneath you. So to have your arms in, your shoulders down, your feet together, your head low, I mean, that's just what you get drilled into. At the end of the day, with these top sliders going down, that's what they're thinking about still, just keeping perfect form.
previous World Championships. That was in Lake Placid in 2011, and that is a track that she knows well. Winterberg is not a track she knows well.
We can see that in the result when you're a new athlete and you maybe spend a lot of time on one certain track that you're learning on, getting all those skills. It's very unnerving when you then have to go straight to a new track. You've never been on it before. I mean, these athletes will be doing track walks. We have special walkers that we can then walk down the track. You're studying the corners, looking at the lines. But to actually physically go down when you only have 6 runs to learn a track, it's a really hard thing to do when you've never been on, you know, a certain track before. So, I mean, there you can see she's too high, her feet are out, she's clipping a bit too early. You know, and that's just knowledge of what's happening on these corners.
And we're talking steering a couple of hundreds in the wrong place makes such a big difference.
You know, we could be talking about 1 centimetre to the left or to the right. The angle is so, you know, minimal, little tiny angle changes, but that can make such a big difference to what happens in these corners. I mean, the art of skeleton is to get the perfect line, the fastest line through the corner, cancel out those oscillations, but to play with the pressures of the corner to your advantage and to get the speed.
It's the experience that makes that possible. Experience is everything in this game. Without that, all the speed in the world serves no effect. This is Camilla Breyer of Bulgaria, 30-year-old mother of 2, originally from Lim in Kent. Lives in La Plana, where she and her husband run a hotel, and long skid there.
Yeah, we're just seeing lots of little tiny mistakes, but I mean, straight away, I talked about that form. She is spot on with that, so now it's just her needing to learn tracks and learn the ice. So far, you know, this is a good, solid run. I'd be happy if I was her re-watching this. But 59.88, so down in 26th place.
And exactly the same time as her first heat. But I'm sure if she watches the video of the two together, there's all sorts of different bits that were better in one and not in the other.
Yes, I mean, exactly the same time. I know I said consistency was the most important thing, but I'm sure she probably made different mistakes on different runs, and she needs to piece it all together.
And that's part of it, isn't it? It's the jigsaw puzzle of a really good corner, then moves a mistake somewhere else. High on the exit. Finish line is just there. She dips ahead to the line, but she's taken the hit and lost a little bit of speed in the final corner. And she's enjoying her World Championships, though. Sarah Levancic of Slovenia was in 27th place out of 28 sleds in the first heat. Finished her first World Championships in 28th place in St. Moritz 2 years ago. Still yet to start on a regular basis in the World Cup, but she does know the European tracks. Slovenia has a tiny team, and you're looking at it now.
Yeah, always very hard when there's just one of you on a team, but they all the small nations, you know, all bunch up together and they all help each other out, stay in the same kind of hospital hotels, makes it cheaper for them, and they've all got the one coach that looks after them. So, I mean, that's useful, it's going to help, but not quite the same when you don't have the teammates to be able to watch and get all that knowledge from. She and Maria Montejano of Spain travelled together the whole time, raced together to share the costs. A little bit high there, so that was the exit 9. She just had the oscillation wrong, which pulled her a bit too early into 10. And this is the labyrinth going into the last corner here.
First run, 59.97. Second run, 60.29. So she's 0.3 of a second slower. Just finding a few too many skids on the way down the track. So maybe she was a little more nervous in the second heat. And again, at the exit of corner 9, coming down a little early, Amy, and centrifugal force still working, pushes her back up the wall when she wants to be on the floor.
That's what you can just see there on the exit. So she's having to fight then into 10 and just hasn't got the line she wants into the labyrinth. Just sets you off on the wrong line.
Well, a real rookie here, Marta Orlowska of Poland, started sliding, not internationally, not in the top flight, but actually lying on the sled for the first time this winter. And she's already in her first World Championships now. There's not a big Polish team. Again, it's tiny, but still, You know, you're looking here at an athlete in the very basic stage of her career.
And, you know, she's just got to forget that this is a competition and just use it as training runs, learn from the environment, see what it feels like around the girls, just watch, learn, ask questions if she can speak, you know, English. She's skidding around there, so whether or not she's just too tense and nervous or maybe the setup isn't quite right on the sled, she can't quite control it when she's not under pressure.
She's been here 1 Europa Cup event, so there'll be 6 runs in training and 4 in competition. So 10 trips plus 6 in training, that's 16. This is now her 18th time down this track.
Yeah, which is then incredible that she is here and sliding,
yes.
and, you know, she's doing brilliantly well. So I think at the moment I would just say I'd go away and check her set up on her sled, and she was skidding quite a lot, so whether it's her or the sled, she needs to just figure that out. But hey, I'd be happy if I was her. She's got to just take this experience and learn, and everyone has to start somewhere.
And the other thing, of course, is that she's got the experience not just of a cold, empty track in Europa Cup, but of all the noise and everything that goes with the World Championships. So the next time she comes, oh yeah, I've done this before.
Yeah, I mean, when I missed out on Turin Games and Olympics 2006, I still went along. I wanted to learn from the environment. I took a notebook, I wrote things down. I kind of got that vibe of what it was like in Olympic Games, and I just learned all about it. So when you're in the next Olympics in Vancouver, you already know what it feels like and that energy that's different around big major competitions. And that's what she needs to be doing. Just bottle it all up, remember what it's like, so it's not then a shock to you when you're actually there again.
I think probably sliding is giving her enough of a rabbit in the headlight experience without the crowds. So, after the first day of action, it is the Olympic champion, Lizzie Arnold, hunting for her first World Championship gold medal, who has the lead. 0.07 of a second is the margin at the moment. A tiny slip from her closest rival, Elizabeth Vache, has brought it from a blink of an eye to maybe a wink of an eye's difference. But Amy Williams, it's not enough to be relaxing on.
No, I think if, you know, she hadn't made that mistake, the Canadian, then I actually, she might have actually have just been there, that 700th of a second with that mistake cost her, and Lizzie has remained in #1.
Well, Lizzie is relaxed whatever she's doing. She's very thoughtful about her sliding, but she doesn't get stressed. Tie for third place, that's going to be fascinating. Ties and close battles all the way down the field. Maria Matsalou of Romania dropped 5 places to 20th to end the day. That is where the cut will be after the third of our 4 heats tomorrow. So everybody outside, Kim Marmons dropped out of the 20, and Yulia Kanakina will also be trying to battle their way in. For everybody, a chance tomorrow to come back, regather your thoughts, and go better, faster, quicker, smoother down the track. Well, that's it. My thanks to Amy Williams. Thanks to you for joining us for this first day of the Women's Skeleton World Championships. Don't forget, you can catch up with all the action again tomorrow. Join us then live from 0900 GMT. Until then, bye for now.